I was working at a cafe in Amsterdam when an American tourist walked in and asked for a venti caramel macchiato with extra whip and 2 pumps of vanilla. I just stared at him. We had espresso, milk, and sugar. That was it. He looked at me like I was hiding the menu behind my back. He asked if we had sizes. I pointed at our 2 cups on the counter, small and regular. He squinted at them and said those were shot glasses. I explained that's how we drink coffee here. He left confused and probably thought we were scamming tourists. This is what I mean when I say culture. Hides in the small things, the kind of patterns most people miss until they've already embarrassed themselves abroad. I track these micro moments full-time, so if you value seeing the world a layer deeper, you know what to do. Another time in Rome, I watched an American couple sit down at a cafe near the Trevi Fountain. They ordered 2 cappuccinos. It was 3 in the afternoon. The waiter's face went completely flat. He nodded slowly and walked away. When he came back with their drinks, he placed them down without a word. The couple didn't notice anything wrong. They sipped happily and took photos. But every Italian in that cafe was staring. One older man actually shook his head and muttered something. My friend later told me cappuccinos after 11 in the morning are basically a cultural crime in Italy. Italians drink them only at breakfast. Anything after that is considered bizarre. The tourists had no idea they'd just committed coffee treason. Most people just laugh at these moments. But the people who subscribe here, they're the ones who actually decode them. Every video peels back another hidden rule of travel you won't find in guidebooks. My cousin worked at a cafe in Vienna. One morning, an American walked in and asked for his coffee to go. Simple request, right? Wrong. In Vienna, coffee isn't something you grab and run with. It's an experience. You sit, you stay. You read the newspaper for an hour if you want. My cousin explained they don't really do takeaway cups. The guy got frustrated. He said he had a meeting in 10 minutes. My cousin offered to make the coffee quickly so he could drink it there. The American didn't understand. He kept saying he needed it in a cup with a lid. Finally, my cousin found an old paper cup in the back. The guy left happy, but everyone in the cafe watched him go like he'd just insulted their entire heritage. Then there was the time in Paris when I saw someone order a latte. Sounds normal enough, but she ordered it at the counter, paid, and then just stood there waiting. In France, you order at the counter, sit down, and they bring it to you. Standing there hovering makes everyone uncomfortable. The barista finished making her drink and placed it on the counter. The woman picked it up and asked where the sleeve was. The barista looked confused. She explained the cup was too hot to hold. He handed her a napkin. She wrapped it around the cup and walked out. The barista turned to me and said, "Americans treat coffee like fuel." I couldn't really argue with that. I worked at a cafe in Stockholm for 2 years. The number of times Americans walked in asking for flavored syrups was incredible. We had coffee. Black coffee. Maybe some milk if you were feeling fancy. One woman asked for a pumpkin spice latte in July. I told her we didn't have that. She asked what seasonal drinks we offered. I said we had coffee. She thought I was joking. When she realized I was serious, she asked if we could just add cinnamon and sugar to regular coffee. I did. She took 1 sip and said it wasn't the same. I agreed. It wasn't supposed to be. Another American asked if we had oat milk. We did, actually. But when I made his cappuccino with it, he complained it didn't foam right. He was correct. Our oat milk didn't foam like the American brands. He asked if we could try again with almond milk. We didn't have almond milk. He suggested soy. We had soy. I made another cappuccino. He said it tasted weird. At that point, I offered him regular milk. He said he was lactose intolerant, but would try it anyway. He drank it. 20 minutes later, he came back asking where the bathroom was. I pointed. He didn't look happy. My friend worked at a cafe in Prague. An American woman came in every morning for a week ordering the same thing. A grande iced coffee with 2 Splendas and cream. The problem was they didn't have grande sizes. They didn't have Splenda. They didn't have cream. They had regular sugar and milk. Every single morning, my friend explained this. Every single morning, The woman ordered the exact same way. By day 4, my friend just started making her a cold coffee with milk and sugar without asking. The woman never noticed. She drank it happily and left a small tip each time. On her last day, she told my friend this was the best cafe she'd found in Europe. My friend just smiled and said, "Thank you." In Barcelona, I watched an American man get genuinely upset about espresso prices. He ordered a coffee and the barista brought him a tiny cup of espresso. The man looked at it, looked at the barista, looked back at the cup. He asked if this was a joke. The barista said no. The man pointed at the cup and said he paid €3 for that. The barista nodded. The man asked where the rest of it was. The barista explained that was a coffee, a full coffee. The man demanded a refill. The barista said refills aren't a thing here. The man said that in America, coffee refills are free. The barista replied that in Spain, coffee is made properly, so you don't need a second cup. The man left angry and probably wrote a bad review online. I was in Berlin visiting a friend who worked at a coffee shop. An American couple came in and asked if they had coffee flights. My friend had no idea what that meant. The couple explained they wanted to try 4 different types of coffee in small cups, like a beer flight but for coffee. My friend said they could order 4 espressos if they wanted. The couple got excited. My friend made 4 espressos. The couple took 1 sip of each and said they all tasted the same. My friend explained they were all espresso. The couple seemed disappointed. They'd expected different roasts or brewing methods. My friend explained this wasn't a specialty coffee lab. It was just a cafe. They drank 1 of the espressos and left the other 3. My friend was baffled. In Brussels, an American asked for a coffee with room for cream. The barista filled the cup 3/4 full and handed it over. The American looked inside the cup and said there wasn't enough room. The barista offered to pour some out. The American said that was wasteful. They went back and forth for a solid minute. Finally, the barista made a new coffee and filled it only halfway. The American seemed satisfied. He added cream until the cup was completely full. Then he complained there was too much cream and not enough coffee. The barista offered to add more coffee. The American said there was no room in the cup. The barista suggested a larger cup. The American said he didn't want more coffee. He just wanted the ratio to be right. Eventually, he left with his too creamy coffee, muttering about European service standards. My sister worked at a cafe in Copenhagen. She said Americans always ask 2 questions. 1. Why is the coffee so expensive? 2. Can they sit here all day if they only buy 1 cup? The answer to the first question was that Danish wages are high, so everything costs more. The answer to the second question was yes, absolutely. That's how cafes work in Denmark. You buy 1 coffee and stay as long as you want. Americans seemed confused by this. They were used to being rushed out or pressured to buy more. When my sister told them they could stay for hours, they didn't believe her. Some even bought second coffees out of guilt. She never understood why they fought against something that benefited them. In Lisbon, I watched an American order a decaf espresso. The barista said they didn't have decaf. The American asked why not. The barista said because no one drinks it. The American said she drinks it. The barista apologized but explained decaf isn't common in Portugal. The American asked if they could make regular coffee, but just use less coffee grounds. The barista said that would make weak coffee, not decaf coffee. The American didn't understand the difference. The barista tried to explain caffeine doesn't work that way. The American insisted weak coffee was basically decaf. Eventually, the barista made her a very weak espresso. The American drank it and later complained she couldn't sleep that night. The barista wasn't surprised. I was working at a cafe in Munich when an American walked in with his laptop, backpack, and a full Starbucks cup from down the street. He sat down at a table and pulled out his charger. I walked over and politely told him he couldn't bring outside drinks into our cafe. He looked genuinely confused. He said the table was empty, so he figured it was fine. I explained that wasn't how it worked. If he wanted to sit here, he needed to order something from us. He argued that he already had coffee. I said that was the problem. He packed up slowly and left, looking offended. Later, I saw him sitting outside on the curb with his laptop balancing on his knees. In Vienna, my friend told me about an American who tried to save a table for his wife by leaving his jacket on a chair. He went to order. While he was gone, someone moved his jacket and sat down. When he came back with his coffee, he got upset. He told the person that was his seat. The person pointed at the crowded cafe and said, "You can't reserve seats." The American insisted he was there first. The person said sitting means being physically present. The American didn't understand. In his mind, leaving an item was the same as occupying the space. In Vienna, if you're not in the chair is fair game. His wife ended up sitting at a different table. They drank their coffee separately. I watched an American in Florence ask if she could move 2 tables together. The cafe was busy. The barista said no. She asked why not. He explained the tables were arranged to fit the maximum number of people. Moving them would block the aisle. She said she and her friends needed to sit together. He suggested they wait for a bigger table to open up. She said they didn't want to wait. He shrugged. She asked to speak to a manager. He said he was the manager. She moved the tables anyway. He walked over and moved them back. She looked shocked. Her friends ended up sitting separately. They kept getting up to talk to each other across tables. Everyone in the cafe was annoyed. In Amsterdam, an American set up a full office at a cafe. Laptop, tablet, phone, notebook, 2 charging cables, and a portable keyboard. He ordered 1 small coffee. Then he sat there for 5 hours. The cafe wasn't busy, so nobody said anything. But when the lunch rush started, people were standing with trays looking for seats. He didn't notice. He had headphones on. Finally, the owner walked over and tapped his shoulder. She politely asked if he planned to order anything else. He said no, he was good. She explained that during busy hours, customers are expected to either order more or give up their table. He seemed offended. He said he paid for his coffee, so he had the right to sit. She said this wasn't a library. He packed up angrily and left a 1-star review calling the cafe unwelcoming to remote workers. My cousin worked at a cafe in Paris. An American woman came in and asked for the Wi-Fi password before ordering. My cousin said she'd give her the password after she ordered. The woman said she needed to check her email first to see if she had time to stay. My cousin repeated that the Wi-Fi was for customers. The woman insisted she would order. She just needed the password first. My cousin didn't budge. The woman called this policy ridiculous. She said every cafe in America gives free Wi-Fi. My cousin said this wasn't America. The woman left. 10 minutes later, she came back, ordered a coffee, and asked for the Wi-Fi password. My cousin gave it to her. The woman didn't say, "Thank you." In Barcelona, I saw an American answer a phone call inside a quiet cafe. He didn't step outside. He didn't lower his voice. He just took the call right there. It was a work call. He was talking about quarterly projections and client meetings. Everyone in the cafe could hear him. People started looking over. He didn't notice. The call lasted 15 minutes. When he finally hung up, he went back to his coffee like nothing happened. An older Spanish man at the next table leaned over and said something in Spanish. I didn't catch all of it, but it definitely wasn't a compliment. The American smiled and said he didn't speak Spanish. The man switched to English and told him phone calls should be taken outside. The American said it was an important call. The man said that didn't matter. The American shrugged. The man finished his coffee and left, shaking his head. In Krakow, an American asked if he could bring his dog into the cafe. The barista said no. The man said his dog was very well behaved. The barista said it didn't matter. The man explained the dog was a service animal. The barista asked what service it provided. The man said emotional support. The barista explained that in Poland, only guide dogs for the blind are considered service animals. Emotional support animals don't have public access rights. The man said that was discrimination. The barista said it was the law. The man tied his dog outside. The dog barked the entire time. The barista regretted not just letting the dog inside. I worked at a cafe in Dublin. An American asked if we validated parking. I told him we didn't have a parking lot. He said he parked on the street. I explained street parking isn't connected to businesses. He'd have to pay the meter. He seemed annoyed. He said in America, businesses validate parking all the time. I told him this was Ireland and parking worked differently here. He asked if we could at least give him change for the meter. I said we weren't a bank. He bought a coffee and asked for his change in coins. I gave him bills. He asked again for coins. I said I needed the coins for other customers. He left frustrated and probably got a parking ticket. I was working at a cafe in Oslo when an American asked for a venti. I told him we didn't have that size. He asked what we did have. I showed him our cups. He said those were too small. I explained Norwegian coffee is strong, so you don't need a large cup. He said he was used to drinking a lot of coffee. I suggested he order two. He said that would be expensive. I said yes. He ended up ordering one small coffee and nursing it for an hour while looking disappointed. In Rome, an American asked for iced coffee. The barista said they didn't make that. The American pointed at the espresso machine and said, "Just pour it over ice." The barista explained, "That's not how they do things. Cold espresso tastes bitter and wrong." The American said he drinks iced coffee every day in America. The barista said, "That's an American thing, not an Italian thing." The American asked if they could make an exception. The barista sighed and poured an espresso over ice. The American took a sip and admitted it tasted terrible. The barista said he warned him. The American drank it anyway because he'd already paid for it. My friend worked at a cafe in Brussels. An American asked if they had pumpkin spice. She said no. He asked if they had any seasonal flavors. She said no. He asked what they did for fall. She said they served coffee the same way year-round. He seemed genuinely sad about this. He asked if they could add cinnamon. She said yes. He asked for nutmeg too. She said they didn't have nutmeg. He settled for cinnamon. When he tasted it, he said it wasn't the same. She agreed. He asked what was different. She said about 12 ingredients and a marketing budget. In Athens, an American ordered a Freddo cappuccino. The barista seemed impressed she knew the local drink. But then she asked for it hot. The barista was confused. She explained Freddo means cold. The woman said she wanted the drink but hot. The barista said that's just a cappuccino. The woman insisted it was different. The barista made her a regular cappuccino. She tasted it and said it wasn't right. The barista had no idea what she expected. I watched an American in Prague try to order coffee in what he thought was Czech. He pointed at the menu and said words that weren't in any language I recognized. The barista politely switched to English. The American seemed disappointed. He said he'd been practicing. The barista told him his pronunciation was very unique. The American asked what he'd actually said. The barista said she had no idea. The American showed her his phone where he'd used a translation app. The app had translated coffee as kava. He'd been saying something that sounded like kava. The barista explained the pronunciation. He tried again. It still wasn't quite right. He ordered in English. In Zurich, an American complained about coffee prices. He said 4 francs for an espresso was robbery. The barista explained everything in Switzerland is expensive. The American said that didn't make it okay. The barista agreed, but said that's how it was. The American asked if there were cheaper options. The barista said he could go to a gas station. The American went to a gas station. He came back 20 minutes later and ordered the espresso. He said the gas station coffee was worse than he expected. The barista wasn't surprised. My sister worked at a cafe in Stockholm. An American asked for a large coffee. She made him a large coffee. He looked at it and said, "That wasn't large." She said it was their large. He said it was maybe a medium in America. She explained they don't make coffee in bucket sizes. He laughed and thought she was joking. She wasn't joking. He drank his medium that was actually large and seemed unsatisfied the entire time. In Madrid, an American asked what the difference was between café con leche and a latte. The barista explained café con leche uses more milk and is typically drunk at breakfast. The American asked which one was stronger. The barista said they have the same amount of espresso. The American asked which one was bigger. The barista said they're about the same size. The American asked why there were two names then. The barista said, because they're different drinks. The American ordered a latte. When it came, he said it looked exactly like café con leche. The barista said it was close, but not quite the same. The American couldn't tell the difference. I was in Copenhagen when I saw an American ask for a coffee to go at a cafe with table service. The waiter looked confused. The American repeated himself. The waiter explained they don't really do takeaway here. The American said he was in a hurry. The waiter suggested he go to a different type of cafe. The American asked what type. The waiter said a takeaway cafe. The American asked where one was. The waiter gave him directions. The American left. 5 minutes later, he came back and sat down. He said he didn't feel like walking that far. The waiter took his order. The American stayed for 45 minutes. In Lisbon, an American asked if they had cold brew. The barista said no. The American asked if they'd ever considered adding it. The barista said no. The American explained cold brew was very popular in America. The barista said this was Portugal. The American asked what Portuguese people drink in summer. The barista said espresso. The American said hot coffee in summer seemed wrong. The barista said it's actually refreshing. The American didn't believe him. He ordered an iced latte instead. The barista made him a cold coffee with milk. The American said it wasn't quite right, but it was close enough. The barista took that as a win. I was working at a cafe in Vienna one last time when an American walked in and ordered just a coffee. No size, no modifications, no special requests. I made him an espresso. He took it to a table and sat down. He didn't pull out a laptop. He didn't take a phone call. He just sat there and drank his coffee slowly. When he finished, he came back to the counter and said that was the best coffee he'd ever had. I asked what made it special. He said he actually tasted it this time instead of drinking it while doing something else. I told him that's the whole point. He said he finally understood why Europeans take coffee so seriously. Then he asked if he could get it to go next time. I laughed. He wasn't joking. The thing about Americans and coffee culture abroad is that it's not really about the coffee. It's about expectations. Americans expect coffee to be fast, customizable, and available in large quantities. Europeans expect coffee to be good, simple, and meant to be enjoyed slowly. Neither approach is wrong. They're just different. But when an American walks into a European cafe expecting Starbucks and gets a tiny cup of strong espresso instead, confusion happens. And honestly, that confusion creates the best stories. My favorite part about working in cafes across Europe was watching people realize their normal doesn't apply everywhere. The moment someone understands that iced coffee isn't universal, or that you're supposed to sit and enjoy your drink instead of running out the door, that's when travel actually happens. You're not just visiting a new place. You're experiencing a new way of thinking about something as simple as coffee. I've seen Americans get frustrated, confused, and sometimes genuinely upset about coffee culture differences. But I've also seen them adapt. I've watched people come back day after day, slowly learning the local way, ordering smaller sizes, sitting longer, skipping the flavored syrups. By the end of their trip, some of them even prefer it. They go back to America and complain that coffee cups are too big and everything tastes like sugar. That's when you know Europe got to them. And trust me, these stories never stop coming. Every summer, a new wave of tourists arrives. Every summer, someone asks for a venti in a Viennese cafe. Every summer, a barista has to explain that cappuccinos after noon are weird. The cycle continues. The confusion continues. And honestly, I wouldn't want it any other way. Because these small moments of cultural clash over something as simple as coffee remind us that the world is bigger than our own habits. If that perspective hits home, if you travel to understand, not just to visit, this channel was built for you. I unpack cultural blind spots like this every week. Subscribing doesn't help me. It helps you never miss the next insight before your next trip. And that's a good thing to remember, even if it means your coffee comes in a cup the size of a shot glass.